Welcome to Infinite Universe with interesting episode. No one expected it, but something big is happening right now in the fight against drug cartels. For many years, these powerful criminal groups have smuggled massive amounts of drugs into the United States without being stopped. Despite constant patrols by the US Navy, cartel empires kept growing, using smart and sneaky methods to stay in business. But now, something is changing. A secret weapon has joined the battle against them, one that might finally bring an end to their reign. It's called the B-2 stealth bomber. This plane is nearly invisible in the sky, moves silently, and is deadly accurate when it strikes. Some believe this could be the tool that will destroy the cartel's power once and for all. For decades, drug cartels have grown stronger by finding new ways to smuggle drugs across borders. They use boats, planes, hidden tunnels, and even submarines to avoid getting caught. Back in the 1980s, the number of people dying from drug overdoses in the US was already a problem. Around 2,500 people died each year. But by the early 2000s, that number jumped to 20,000 deaths a year. Now, in 2025, more than 110,000 people are dying each year from drug overdoses. That number is horrifying. To understand how serious it is, more Americans have now died from drugs than in both World War I and World War II combined. Most of these deaths are happening in low-income communities, where people have fewer resources to fight addiction. The country is facing a huge crisis. America now uses more than 80% of the world's supply of opioids. That demand is what gives the cartels their power. Every year, these drug groups make tens of billions of dollars by feeding this addiction. While the United States has increased border security and drug enforcement, the cartels have also evolved. They started using submarines, yes, real submarines, to transport drugs. These submarines are not like the ones used by the military, but they work surprisingly well. The first drug subs started appearing in the 1990s. They were homemade, built out of wood and fiberglass, and hidden deep in the forests and swamps of South America. These areas are hard to access, and satellite images often miss what's hidden under the trees. Over time, the cartels improved their designs. Today, these submarines are engineered by skilled builders who use better materials and advanced techniques. A modern drug submarine is about 80 feet long and can travel 2,500 miles without needing to refuel. That's enough to carry a large shipment across international waters without being spotted. Each sub costs about $1 to $2 million to build. They usually carry a crew of 5 and can haul up to 10 tons of drugs. That's more than $150 million worth of illegal substances in one trip. What makes these submarines even scarier is how hard they are to detect. They're painted in dull blue-gray colors, blending perfectly with the ocean. Their shape is smooth and designed to cut through the water quietly, without making waves. Some of them even have a special layer of lead inside. This layer blocks the heat they give off, making it harder for thermal imaging cameras to spot them from the air. If they think they're about to get caught, the crew can quickly open a valve to flood the sub. It sinks within minutes, taking the drugs and the vessel with it, leaving no evidence behind. But submarines are only one of the tricks these cartels use. They also operate go-fast boats, small, fast watercraft built for one purpose: speed. These boats are about 30 feet long and have 3 or 4 powerful engines, each one as strong as those used in race cars. They can move across the water at more than 80 miles per hour. Because of their speed and size, they're incredibly hard to catch. Painted in ocean colors and riding low in the water, they are hard to see even in daylight. Most of them carry just one person, which saves space for extra fuel and drugs. With tanks that can hold up to 2,000 gallons, they can travel over 500 miles non-stop. That's enough to go from Colombia to Jamaica or from the Bahamas straight into the coast of Florida. Cartels didn't stop there. They developed new types of vessels that are something between a fast boat and a submarine. These are known as low-profile vessels. They're designed to rise just slightly above the water, leaving only a small part visible from above. They're made with materials that resist radar detection and painted to blend into the ocean. They're slower than go-fast boats, moving at around 30 miles per hour, but they're almost invisible. By combining these underwater and surface methods, The cartels have created a near-perfect system of drug smuggling. No one ever knows where or how the next shipment will arrive. In 2024, as the situation worsened, former President Donald Trump returned to the campaign trail with a bold new message. He promised the American people that he would crush the drug cartels once and for all. And when he was re-elected, he wasted no time putting those promises into action. In a speech to Congress on March 4, 2025, he declared that the cartels were waging war on America and that America would finally fight back. He said the United States could no longer sit by while the drug problem destroyed communities and took lives. Even before that speech, Trump had already made a powerful move. 2 weeks earlier, he officially labeled 8 major cartels as foreign terrorist organizations. This new label gave the U.S. military, especially the Navy, the authority to go after these groups with the same power used in counterterrorism operations. That meant the U.S. could now strike cartel targets, just like it did against terror groups overseas. In response, Mexico's Senate agreed to join forces with the United States. They approved a joint military training program that brought together the U.S. Army's 7th Special Forces Group and Mexico's elite naval marines. It showed that both countries were finally ready to take strong action. The CIA also got involved. Using high-tech drones, the agency began flying missions over cartel territory in Mexico. These drones can stay in the sky for hours, watching everything below and collecting critical information. Their cameras and sensors can track movement, identify leaders, and even locate hidden drug labs and warehouses. According to U.S. military experts, something much bigger is coming. The country is now preparing for a major operation, possibly one of the largest since the early days of the War on Terror. Several current and former officials from the military and intelligence communities have said that drone strikes are now being seriously considered. The possible targets include cartel leaders, vehicles, drug labs, and storage facilities, any part of the network that helps the cartels operate. Inside the White House, discussions are reportedly happening between top defense leaders, intelligence officials, and the president himself. According to sources, the Mexican government has been informed about these discussions and may even be cooperating. This is not the first time Trump has shown interest in extreme measures. In 2020, during his first term, former Defense Secretary Mark Esper claimed that Trump once asked if the military could launch missiles at drug labs in Mexico and simply deny it afterward. Although Trump and his team have denied that statement, many believe he still wants to take aggressive action. Trump and many of his advisors believe that only one thing will stop the cartels: fear. They think that if the U.S. uses enough force, cartel members will be too scared to continue. They argue that the only language the cartels understand is power. And now, in 2025, Trump is making sure that the cartels feel that power on the water too. One name keeps popping up among drug smugglers: the U.S. Coast Guard cutter James. This ship is not like the others. It's a massive 418-foot-long cutter, with a crew of 150 specially trained officers. Each member of the team is an expert in stopping drug smugglers at sea. One mission, in particular, has become legendary among cartel circles. It lasted 112 days and was so effective that some drug lords refused to talk about it out loud. The cutter James is equipped with the latest technology and weaponry. On January 5, during that patrol, a drone launched from the ship spotted a suspicious boat near the coast of Ecuador. That was just the beginning of an operation that shook the drug world. What happened next sent a clear message to the cartels: the game has changed. And with the use of stealth bombers, high-tech drones, and advanced naval forces, the United States may finally be ready to end the cartel era. In combination with the Navy's destroyers, Coast Guard cutters, and CIA drones, the B-2 will act as the final strike force. Once intelligence identifies a location and confirms the activity of a cartel, the B-2 can be dispatched under the cover of night. The bomber can fly from U.S. bases and never even enter Mexican airspace until it's time to drop its payload. With advanced stealth tech, radar-absorbing materials, and minimal heat signature, it can strike and disappear before anyone knows what happened. But it's not just about blowing up buildings. The real power lies in the message. By using the B-2, the U.S. is showing it's willing to escalate the fight to a level that cartels have never faced before. It turns drug production into a deadly risk for anyone involved. Suddenly, a remote jungle lab isn't a safe place to cook cocaine, it's a target that could explode without warning. The fear this generates may be enough to make some operations shut down voluntarily, as low-level workers refuse to risk their lives for a few dollars. At the same time, there's a growing international push to crack down on the chemicals used to make synthetic drugs like fentanyl. Most of these chemicals come from overseas, especially China and India, and are shipped to ports in Mexico or Central America. From there, they go to secret labs run by the cartels. To block this supply chain, the US is increasing pressure on international shipping companies, using satellite tracking and trade intelligence to flag suspicious containers. The Navy is now monitoring major ports using submarines and spy ships, watching for chemical shipments that might be hidden in legitimate cargo. This global network of surveillance is starting to close in, and the cartels know it. Some have already started moving their operations deeper into South America, building labs in Venezuela and Ecuador where there's less military pressure. But even there, US drones have been spotted flying high overhead, sending a signal that there's nowhere left to hide. Experts say the key to this campaign's success will be coordination. No one weapon alone, whether a bomber, drone, or patrol boat, can end the drug war. But together, they create a web of pressure that chokes off supply routes, destroys production centers, and frightens away would-be traffickers. It's the first time in decades that such a full-spectrum approach is being used. And unlike past efforts that relied heavily on politics and deals with local governments, this time the US is using military strategy and cutting-edge technology to go straight after the source. Some human rights groups have raised concerns about this new approach. They fear that bombing remote areas could harm civilians or escalate violence in fragile regions. Others argue that a military response alone won't solve the deeper issues behind the drug trade, like poverty, corruption, and addiction. But supporters of the plan, including many in the US government, say that without breaking the backbone of the cartels, no lasting progress is possible. Inside the Pentagon, discussions are already underway about using other stealth aircraft alongside the B-2, such as the newly developed B-21 Raider. Built for long-range, high-altitude missions, the B-21 could allow even deeper strikes into cartel-controlled territory. There's also talk of deploying stealth drones equipped with powerful surveillance tools and small strike missiles. These drones could fly constant patrols over drug routes, picking off vehicles, boats, or even individual cartel leaders with pinpoint accuracy. As for the cartels, they are reacting with a mix of silence and terror. In intercepted communications, mid-level members have started asking questions about ghost planes that make no sound and leave no trace. Rumors are spreading that some high-value labs have already been destroyed without warning. Cartel members are moving locations more often and relying more on human couriers than on boats or subs. But this only increases the chances of making mistakes and being caught. In the coming months, many believe we will see the first confirmed B-2 strike on cartel infrastructure. The location will be kept secret, and the official story may only mention a high-altitude precision strike carried out in cooperation with local authorities. But behind the scenes, it will mark a new era in the fight against drugs, one where the cartel's greatest strength, secrecy, becomes their biggest weakness. No one knows exactly how long this campaign will take or how far it will go. But one thing is clear, the age of drug empires thriving on the sea and in the jungle is coming to an end. With stealth bombers in the sky, drones on patrol, and Navy ships surrounding every smuggling route, the cartels are running out of places to hide. And for the first time in decades, there's real hope that the tide is finally turning. The suspicious boat was speeding across the ocean, painted in dull colors and hugging the waves to avoid radar detection. From the air, the drones silently tracked its every move. Aboard the cutter James, officers quickly sprang into action. They launched 2 small fast boats with special teams trained to intercept targets like this. Within minutes, they caught up to the vessel. The smugglers tried to escape, throwing cargo overboard and weaving wildly through the waves, but they were no match for the well-coordinated US crew. When they were finally stopped, over 5,000 pounds of cocaine were found on board, valued at more than $80 million. It was one of the biggest seizures of the year and a crushing blow to the cartel's operation in that region. The success of the Cutter James mission sent a strong message across the smuggling world. The cartels had always relied on the sea as a safe route, but now, their confidence was shaken. The US was not only using more aggressive tactics but was also working with advanced technology and global intelligence networks. Cartel leaders began to feel like ghosts were watching them from above, unseen, silent, and always one step ahead. And that's exactly where the B-2 Spirit stealth bomber enters the picture. A marvel of engineering, it's shaped like a flying wing and built to vanish from radar screens. It can fly thousands of miles without being seen, carrying bombs, missiles, and surveillance equipment into places no one expects. Though designed originally for nuclear missions during the Cold War, the B-2 is now being prepared for a very different kind of mission, targeting narco empires with surgical precision. High-level sources in the Pentagon say that the B-2 has already been tested in simulations and training flights over mock jungle labs set up in secret US locations. The results were devastating. Using new bunker-busting bombs and precision-guided missiles, the B-2 was able to destroy targets hidden beneath thick canopies and concrete walls. These weapons are designed not just to destroy drug labs, but to do it with such speed and accuracy that no warning can be given. One military strategist described the plan as surgical decapitation, meaning the goal is to destroy key targets like drug labs, chemical processing facilities, and the small airstrips used by drug planes, all without needing a full-scale invasion or risking soldiers' lives. A powerful drone, built with the latest technology, was sent out on a critical mission. This drone had the ability to stay in the air for up to 18 hours without needing to land or recharge. It was equipped with cameras so clear that they could read writing on the sides of ships from miles away. Without making a sound, the drone carefully followed a suspicious boat across the sea. It didn't make any sudden movements or reveal its presence, simply tracking every move of the target until the right moment arrived. Once the time was right, a boarding crew moved in and successfully intercepted the boat. They arrested 3 men on board and seized a shocking 2,200 pounds of cocaine. It was a major win. But this was only the beginning. The very next day, on January 6th, the situation escalated. A patrol aircraft flying over the area noticed something unusual: 3 go-fast boats traveling close together. This kind of formation was very rare and incredibly risky for drug traffickers, who usually tried to stay as hidden and spread out as possible. The fact that they were moving together suggested something big was underway. Reacting quickly, the crew launched helicopters to intercept them. In a well-coordinated maneuver, they stopped all 3 boats at once. 9 people were arrested during the operation, and nearly 14,000 pounds of cocaine were recovered, another massive blow to the cartels. On January 7th, the traffickers tried changing tactics. This time, they used a specially designed stealth boat. It was built to hide from radar, making it nearly invisible to most detection systems. But the US Coast Guard Cutter James, known for its elite crew and advanced technology, wasn't fooled. A helicopter locked onto the stealth boat, quickly shut down its engines with extreme accuracy, and safely captured everyone on board. This stop prevented another 8,240 pounds of cocaine from reaching the streets of the United States. By January 18th, the drug traffickers were beginning to panic. In one desperate attempt to avoid capture, smugglers began throwing heavy bales of cocaine into the ocean to lighten the boat and make a faster escape. But the crew of Cutter James didn't give up. Fast boats were launched to chase down the smugglers, while other teams quickly scooped the floating cocaine out of the water before it sank. In the end, around 6,000 pounds of narcotics were recovered during that operation alone. Over a period of just 4 months, this one ship, the Cutter James, had taken more than 48,000 pounds of illegal drugs off the ocean. That amount of drugs could have fueled the illegal drug market of an entire city for a full year. The estimated street value of these seizures was about $919 million. For the cartels, this wasn't just a loss, it was a financial disaster. Their profits were being destroyed, and their operations disrupted at every turn. But it wasn't just the Cutter James making these huge breakthroughs. Other U.S. Navy warships like the USS Minneapolis St. Paul and the USS St. Louis were also patrolling the Caribbean. They, too, were making important arrests and stopping large quantities of drugs from entering the country. These military operations were sending a very clear message to the cartels, especially to notorious organizations like Sinaloa and Jalisco New Generation. The US was no longer going to allow their operations to go unchecked. The cartels were being hit hard. For the first time in years, their leaders were nervous. They no longer had the confidence that their drug shipments would make it to their destination. Instead, they lived in fear that their boats would vanish into the sea, seized by US forces hunting them across land, air, and ocean. But there was another side to these missions: intelligence gathering. Every time the US crew intercepted a boat or arrested a smuggler, they gathered valuable information. They learned about secret smuggling routes, fake identities, cartel hideouts, and clever tricks used to hide drugs. This intelligence wasn't just collected and filed away. It was immediately used to plan future raids and improve strategies, making it harder for the cartels to adapt and stay ahead. And the United States wasn't slowing down. In fact, it was preparing to ramp things up. The Pentagon recently sent the USS Gravely, a powerful Navy destroyer armed with Tomahawk cruise missiles, to the Gulf Coast right near the Texas-Mexico border. Its mission was to support both U.S. Border Patrol and the Coast Guard, with full authority to operate in both U.S. waters and international zones. This deployment wasn't just a routine mission, it was a serious warning to the cartels. But that wasn't the most powerful tool in America's arsenal. The U.S. government was preparing to use one of its most feared weapons, the B-2 Spirit bomber. This jet is unlike anything the cartels have ever dealt with. On March 29th, the world got a chilling reminder of what the B-2 is capable of. In the dead of night, several B-2 bombers flew silently toward the Middle East. At exactly 2 a.m., the first bombs dropped on enemy targets. Within minutes, 10 high-value sites were destroyed. Command centers, radar stations, and fortified bunkers were all wiped out. The B-2 was originally built during the Cold War to carry out nuclear missions. Today, it's still one of the most advanced and stealthy bombers in existence. It can fly into heavily defended enemy territory without being seen, drop its deadly payloads, and escape before anyone even knows it was there. Each of its 4 engines produces 17,300 pounds of thrust, allowing it to cruise at over 600 miles per hour and fly high above most anti-air missile systems, including anything that drug cartels might possess. One of the main reasons the B-2 is so effective is its ability to stay nearly invisible to radar. In flying, there's something called a radar cross-section, or RCS, which measures how big a plane appears to radar systems. A large RCS means the aircraft is easy to detect. But the B-2's RCS is incredibly small, only 0.1 square meters. That's even smaller than some birds. To put it in perspective, an F-15 fighter jet has a radar profile nearly 250 times larger. So how does the B-2 stay so hidden? It starts with its unique shape. Its body is smooth, with flowing curves and no sharp corners. This design helps deflect radar waves away from enemy sensors. Instead of reflecting back to the radar, the waves bounce off in different directions, making the bomber nearly invisible. Its black surface isn't just for night missions, either. The coating is made from a special combination of composite materials and iron ball paint. This special skin absorbs about 80% of incoming radar waves. Even if a radar system managed to pick something up, it wouldn't look like a plane. It might look like a small bird or a cloud. That means even advanced radar systems used by countries like Iran or remnants of Soviet technology wouldn't be able to detect it properly. These systems are designed to find large ships or aircraft, not ultra-stealthy bombers. Using these old radars to spot a B-2 would be like trying to catch a falling grain of sand with a fishing net, it just slips through. This is what makes the B-2 the perfect weapon for targeting remote drug labs hidden deep in the jungle, buried bunkers, or secret coastal facilities used by the cartels. It can fly in, strike without warning, and leave without a trace. Once the initial strike is complete, other aircraft follow to finish the job. In one real-world mission, FA-18 Super Hornets from the USS Truman followed a B-2 strike and took out communication towers used by enemy groups. The same tactic could be used against the cartels. Without these towers, cartel members wouldn't be able to coordinate or send orders across long distances. The B-2 also uses advanced precision bombs like the GBU-38, which weigh about 500 pounds. These bombs are powerful but have a smaller blast radius, about 80 meters. That means they can destroy specific targets like radar towers or command posts without damaging everything around them. This kind of accuracy allows for clean, surgical strikes in dense jungle or urban environments without unnecessary destruction. Another strength of the B-2 lies in how it hides its engine heat. Most jet engines give off a lot of heat, making them easy targets for heat-seeking missiles. But the B-2's engineers came up with a clever solution. They buried the engines deep inside the aircraft and designed special ducts to cool and spread the heat before it leaves the plane. This reduced the heat signature by 80%. On infrared sensors, the B-2 looks more like a quiet passenger plane than a deadly bomber. Even if someone managed to get a missile lock on it, the B-2 has defenses. It works together with other aircraft like the E-2D Hawkeye radar planes, which scan the skies and send secure data to the B-2. The bomber doesn't even have to turn on its own radar, which could reveal its location. Everything is done quietly and with coordination, keeping the B-2 one step ahead of the enemy. To strike underground bunkers, drug labs, or hidden data centers, the B-2 uses GBU-31 JDAM bombs with special warheads. These bombs are dropped from up to 50,000 feet and take over 40 seconds to hit their targets. They can go deep into the ground before exploding, destroying whatever is hidden beneath. By the time the ground shakes, the B-2 is already miles away. The B-2 also has real-time communication with U.S. command through satellites and a secure radio system. It can receive mission updates mid-flight and connect with other aircraft and ground forces using the Link 16 network. If an enemy radar tries to lock on, the B-2's systems immediately alert the pilots and suggest evasive moves, like changing altitude or direction. Inside its bomb bays, the B-2 can carry up to 40,000 pounds of weapons. That includes 2,000-pound JDAM bombs, smaller 500-pound 82 Malawian Quachars bombs, or even one massive 30,000-pound GBU-57, designed to smash through reinforced bunkers. The B-2 can also carry nuclear weapons like the B-61 or B-83, but for now, the US hasn't taken things that far. This show of power is meant to send a very serious message. The US is prepared to use overwhelming force to stop the cartels. But not everything is happening in the open. Sources say the US might be planning a secret mission that doesn't require Mexico's final permission. If that's true, it would be the largest American military action in the region in years, using more drones, bombers, and personnel than ever before. When reporters asked the White House about it, the National Security Council refused to comment. Meanwhile, Mexico's president, Claudia Sheinbaum, expressed concern. Through a translator, she said that while Mexico is working with the US, it will not allow unauthorized military actions on its land. Still, Trump's pick for ambassador to Mexico, Ronald Johnson, has supported a solo mission if necessary. And Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has warned that a strike could happen with or without Mexico's approval. This signals a turning point. The cartels are no longer just facing local police or border patrol agents, they are up against one of the most advanced military forces in the world. The message is clear, the US is done playing defense. It's now bringing the fight straight to the cartels, no matter where they try to hide. Thanks for watching. Keep it and stay tuned. Like and subscribe our channel. Have a good day.